I'm here today to start a very exciting new book, new to me at least, Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. So this will be my first read by Sanderson. I've just finished the Red Rising series, at least what's out, 2 weeks ago now. I finished up Lightbringer, and that's the first intense sci-fi fantasy book series that I've read that's for adults, because I've read a bunch of YA sort of fantasy books. I've recently been watching Brandon Sanderson's lectures that he posts on YouTube because he is a professor. He has a lot of really helpful writing advice, and I thought it might be even more helpful to see his work. I went to pick this up at Barnes & Noble this morning. It's extremely rainy outside. The cashier actually looked at the book and got super excited because she said she loves Brandon Sanderson and that she really loves the Mistborn trilogy. That made me even more excited. I did also check out the audiobook on Hoopla, and I've already listened to most of the prologue, and then I finished reading the prologue after I got the physical copy. So I'm on page 14 right now, just about to start part 1, The Survivor of Hathsin. I really liked the opening bit. I consider myself to be a man of principle, but what man does not? Even the cutthroat, I have noticed, believes his actions to be moral after a fashion. Perhaps another person, reading of my life, would name me a religious tyrant. He could call me arrogant. What is to make that man's opinion any less valid than my own? I guess it all comes down to one fact. In the end, I'm the one with the armies. Already, what I've noticed just from the prologue is that the tone is a bit darker than I expected, because from what I've gathered of Brandon Sanderson in his lectures, he seems like such a jolly, happy guy. So I was very surprised with just how dark we started out. There's these enslaved people called the Ska, and they're being extremely mistreated. Kind of seems like there's some religious beliefs that have been given to them to keep them in line by people who are in a higher class. There's definitely magic that's going on for those higher class people that I think has to do with metals and elements. According to the prologue, you ingest the metals and then you can somehow target them with your mind, and then burning a certain metal that's in your stomach gives you certain abilities. So we've only seen the abilities of 10 so far. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I remember I had actually tried to pick this up maybe a year or two ago, in a Barnes & Noble, and I read half of the prologue maybe, and it was just all over my head. I just couldn't keep up with it at all. But then when I listened to it this time around, it made perfect sense, very quickly. Obviously, I don't know everything yet. There's, information that's intentionally withheld from you in the beginning, but I didn't feel confused, I'd say. Whereas the first time around, I definitely felt confused. And I think it's because now that I've read 6 Red Rising books, which are all, I would say, pretty high fantasy, pretty complex systems going on in there, I think I've just got more high fantasy chops now. So I'm really excited for this. I kind of wish that I had some sort of record of me reading Red Rising so I could go back and see my original reactions. Long story short, I just thought this would be fun to have to look back on. Oh gosh, it's so pretty. This cover has grown on me a lot. Here's the man, the myth, the legend. Very excited to continue reading this, and I'll check back in with you guys when I've read some more. It's the next day. I am 62 pages into Mistborn. I just started chapter 4 using this fun shark bookmark. And I wanted to give a little check-in. So far, we're following what seems to be 2 main characters, Vin and Kelsier. It's a good sign when I'm pretty equally interested in both of their plot lines, which have just intersected. I haven't decided whether this will be spoiler-free or not. I'll try and keep it spoiler-free, and then I'll put a spoiler section at the end, maybe. We'll see. So I would say anything, I guess up till this first check-in, I'd say anything within the first 50 pages of a book is not really a spoiler. Vin and Kelsier are both Ska, which are the class of people who are slaves in the society. It seems that long ago there was some sort of war or rebellion, and the Lord Ruler, who was the evil winner of all of this, is now in control of the world, I think. Maybe just this country. I'm not totally sure what the scope is. But he's in control, and all the descendants of his homies are, like, gifted with metal powers, allomancy as it's called, and then everybody who was on the rebel side or just like the opposing forces, they're all the ska, like the descendants of those people are called ska, and they're all slaves. And so Vin and Kelsier are both half ska, half noble, which is like illegal. If a nobleman wants to like essentially rape one of his ska slaves, he has to make sure like that's totally legal, but you just have to kill them afterwards because the Lord Ruler doesn't allow for like half ska, half nobles to be running around. But it does sometimes happen that like those people don't get killed, and then these half ska, half nobles are born, and they have the chance, not like a guarantee, of being a Misting, which is a person who has 1 out of the 8 metals powers within their control, or they can be a Mistborn, which is what we just discovered Vin rather is, which I feel like isn't really a spoiler. Like, of course, our main character is going to be Mistborn, you know? So she just discovered that she's a Mistborn because Mistborns have control of all 8 of the metals within the allomantic powers. And I think Kelsier is too, and which is exceedingly rare, so it's like really crazy that they've crossed paths. So far, I really like Brandon Sanderson's writing style. It's very, very easy to follow and like bingeable. Like I picked this up this morning at like page 32, and then I read like 30 more pages and got to like 62 very easily. It's still like definitely gonna take me a minute to get through here. I've only read that much in 2 days. But it's one of those books where you don't feel the pages going by. It's like, I'm not wondering when's the end of this chapter. It's just, ooh, I want to find out what's going on next. He's very good at setting up conflict and like interesting mystery, intrigue, and it's not like annoying where I'm like, I don't understand what's going on, I'm too confused to follow this. It's all like very like, okay, I know there's an answer to this and I'm just not there yet, and he's like setting it up and it's coming soon, and I trust him. So far, I'm having a really fun experience. Also, just the edition that I got is extremely comfortable. It's like a really like smooth, I think you can kind of see the texture type of paperback, and the sides of the paper, it's like really soft and it's nice and like floppy and easy to hold. Which I've noticed with pretty much all of his publications, like they're always kind of constructed like this. They're really nice, which I think is cool. And it's cool that he's like a fantasy author who's in mass market paperback. I feel like there's not a ton of fantasy authors who are printing books like this. I don't know why. I think maybe they're just like not as popular, even though this like used to be like the American go-to type of book. Yeah, I'm having fun reading it. We've also met a character, Dachshund, which I don't know how important or not important he's going to be throughout the rest of the story, but it seems like he's just like Kelsier's friend. And also, part 1, oh, I didn't even look at that end paper. So cool. Part 1 was called something about a survivor. Part 1 is called The Survivor of Hatson, and somebody just referenced Kelsier as being the survivor of Hatson, and he has these like crazy like scars up and down his hands, and it seems like he was probably discovered as being a Mistborn, and they send like people who commit, or ska who commit like crazy crimes to this place called Hatson, and I think he's like the only person who has ever survived that. Oh, also, we've met these people. I don't even know if they're people. These beings called Inquisitors, or is that what they're called? I think so. And there's one of them there's like different types of Inquisitors, like different levels of them, and they're basically like those noblemen descendants of like the Lord Ruler that I mentioned, like all of his boys that helped him in the war and way back when, because he's also immortal, the Lord Ruler. So way back when all of his boys helped him, he like gave them powers, and their descendants, some of them are called Inquisitors now, and they have like unidentified powers. We don't exactly know what it is, but like some of them, we got introduced to this one called like the Steel Inquisitor, I think, and dude has metal nails like nailed into his eyes. Like his pupils are metal discs, and there's nails like poking out from the back of his head. Like it's such a disturbing image. And Kelsier says, like, that he doesn't know exactly why some inquisitors, like the steel ones, are able to survive that procedure and like have that go through their head. But I feel like we will find out. I don't think it would be brought up just to be like glazed over. Brandon Sanderson is known so deeply for like how intricate and logical his world building is. So if that's never explained, I will be disappointed, but I think it will be. So yeah, there's like another cover that I really love of this book in like the new hardcover edition that has an Inquisitor on it, and they had like gray eyes, and I thought it did look weird because they didn't mention in the book that they had like whited out eyes or grayed out eyes, but I think on that cover that's probably the Steel Inquisitor, and that's why his eyes look like that. So that's really interesting to know. I just love that cover though. It's like so beautiful. I was just editing this clip and I totally forgot to say the whole reason I brought up the Steel Inquisitor is because I think he's Vin's father. That's my prediction, because Vin said that her mother was a Ska and her father was a Steel Inquisitor. So there are many, I don't know how many, but there are many Inquisitors of different levels. But when she went with like her old gang, because like Vin was in like a street gang sort of thing, because it's just like a survival thing that she has to do, because like Ska don't really, your only options as a Ska is to be a slave or to be in some sort of street gang in the underworld in the city. So she's in a gang and she was helping the gang leader like get this deal done. And she relies on this power she has that is allomancy, but she doesn't know that she's using allomancy. In her mind, she's like, oh, I'm using the luck inside me. Like I reach for my luck and like I'm able to influence people's emotions. And Kelsier basically explains to her like, hey, that thing, that luck you're reaching for, it's really the metals in the water that you've been drinking. Like you're storing them up and then you're like using those. So you're doing allomancy. And so she tells him her father was a Steel Inquisitor. And okay, so she was helping the gang leader get through with this deal, and she started to influence the Inquisitor that he was talking to. And Inquisitors are apparently trained to be privy to when an allomancer is like messing with their emotions, because not all Inquisitors, though they are descendants of those nobles who have allomancy powers, not all of them have misting or mistborn powers. You must have noble blood to have it, but just because you have noble blood doesn't mean that you will, you know? So the Inquisitor doesn't have allomantic powers, but he could sense that Vin was like messing with him and using allomancy, and so they called in a Steel Inquisitor to go and like, I don't know, get her, and that was the guy with the discs in his eyes. And then she goes, my father was a Steel Inquisitor. So I think that's her dad. That's my guess. But it could just be a random Steel Inquisitor. But let it be heard here that I did guess that. So that is my 10% basically check-in, because yeah, I'm 62 pages through and this book is just, 640 pages, so like a little bit less than that. But yeah, so far really enjoying it. I'll definitely read some more later tonight and check back in with you maybe at the next 10% check mark, like 20